Warriors, it's year 5, season 2 Mirage. We're here with 2 very special guests, Stefan and JC. How are you guys doing?
Hello, pretty good.
Great, thank you. How are you guys?
We are so hyped right now because
Absolutely.
we have some news coming up in a little bit of time that you guys will get to. But before that, it's important, and a lot of people have been asking about what we made of the last testing grounds and our takeaways from that. So, Stefan, can you walk us through where we're at with the last testing grounds?
Yes, absolutely. Our previous testing ground was in year 5, season 1. We went a little bit crazy and we brought 7 characters to this testing ground. So that was a lot of fun for us, and it turns out to be a lot of fun for the players as well. So that was really cool. Basically, across the board, in terms of feedback, we were looking for what did people say on social media, what did people put into their surveys that we ask after every testing ground. This is a huge insight for us. Tons of players played in the testing ground and gave the feedback, so this was a lot to go through. But kind of universally, it seems like players had a lot of fun messing with the characters, and we're really happy to see so many characters kind of brought to the power level that these characters need to be at. So for us, it was quite good. Basically, what you're going to see here is the whole 7 are going to come to year 5, season 2 at the beginning of year 5, season 2. So they're all going to be unleashed. You're going to see a number of edits to most of them based on player feedback, what parts weren't working, what parts were too strong, what parts didn't quite make sense. And we're going to try to shore up each of these areas in preparation for their release at year 5, season 2.
Awesome. JC, this would be a good time for us to kind of go over just like some of those tweaks that are coming. So you have the floor. By all means, go ahead and walk us through some of the tweaks.
Okay, let's do this. So first of all, Berserker. So Berserker didn't really need any changes from what we had in the previous testing ground. So
easy.
Berserker, yeah, easy. So Berserker is going to ship as is. That is pretty good news. He performed quite well. The improvements were pretty good, so we're really happy overall with him. Next up, we have Gladiator. So Gladiator was a tiny bit too strong in a bunch of little areas. So we're doing some changes. First of all, Fushina Ictus, which is basically known as Toe Stab. It was dealing a bit too much damage, especially when you were landing it on somebody that was out of stamina. So now we've changed it so that it no longer unbalances out of stamina opponents. That's a big change to that move, but I think it's one that is going to be a lot healthier. We also have Skewer. So Skewer had a little bit of an issue because it barely generates any revenge when it hits or when it's dodged. And so because of that, it became an incredibly strong ganking tool. So we were changing it slightly so that it actually generates as much revenge as most bashes in the game. So it's technically 30 revenge here. That should make it less effective as a ganking tool, but it's still quite good. And finally, we have the sucker punches, which are like dodge punches. So the front version is faster. It's now 500 milliseconds. So that makes it better at opening up opponents. You can't delay the side dodge ones. So similarly to what we've done with Griffon, you can only do them at a very specific, strict timing when you're dodging to make them a little bit easier to deal with. If you do like a heavy feint, it should be a bit easier to deal with. All the sucker punches also do less stamina damage. The stamina bully aspect of Gladiator wasn't something that we really wanted to keep pushing forward. It's like a bit of an annoyance sometimes, so we wanted to get rid of that a little bit. And at the same time, all of his sucker punches no longer pause stamina regen. That's also another big one that we're trying to move away from slightly. So next up we have Zhanhu. So Zhanhu was, I think, one of the most, Zhanhu and Hitokiri were the 2 most well-received heroes in the testing grounds. So for Zhanhu, there's only 2 small changes we have for him. Basically, the zone attack speed is going back to 600 milliseconds. At 500, it was way too fast. Like, it was incredibly strong. I know
it's a matter of some debate, JC.
Yeah, a matter of some debate. But a lot of the feedback we've gotten was that he's now extremely strong in group fights. And part of that was that zone attack was a bit too fast. So back at 6, it's still very good, but it's not as strong as it used to be. And we're also going to keep the side dodge attacks as light parries. We had intended for them to be heavy parries. There was a bit of a glitch, and they ended up staying light parries. And it turns out that they should have stayed light parries because they're them being enhanced now and such. They're much stronger tools. So with that being light parries, it's still they're still kind of harder to react to in parry, so we should be good with that.
Still going to be limitless?
Yeah, still going to be limitless.
All
right. So next up is Aramusha. So Aramusha was also pretty good, pretty well received. Like Seth was saying, that they're all well received, so it doesn't really matter. But Aramusha, the big change that we're doing on him is that he still had issues with reach. So a lot of the time when you were doing either like his top heavy soft feint to ring the bell or a lot of different things, because his range was too low, you could really effectively just backdash, like hold back in the backdash and backdodge and be able to avoid a lot of his options. So we've given him a lot more range on most of his attacks, all of his like neutral heavies, infinite lights, all that sort of stuff, so that it's harder to just hold back and kind of deal with it. Yeah, he's able to reach out a little bit more and hit you, so that should really help Aramusha get better into those fights.
I appreciate it. Thank you. As a Aramusha fan, thank you.
Perfect. That's good. So Shugoki is the more contentious one, but we felt that the changes that we've done to Shugoki actually make him a lot healthier to play both as and against. But there was like two little things that were tweaking from what we had on testing grounds. First off was Charge of the Oni. There was a little bit of a bug/issue where you could just mash the sprint button and you could do like crazy demon drift things and what people were calling it. So it was interesting, it was funny, but at the same time, you know, it wasn't really working as intended. So now we fixed the stamina consumption on it. You can still mash sprint if you want, but you're gonna end up depleting your stamina quite fast. So it's no longer an effective solution. And we've also lowered the Demon's Embrace recovery by a bit, so that it's not as punishing when you do it and you miss. So that should also help Shugoki a little bit in there.
So just before we jump off on that one, I know that a lot of the Shugoki, some of the perception was a bit more contentious on this one. Generally, when we looked at the surveys, it fell a bit more into like the Shugoki mains side and trying to get it into that ultra competitive level. We have a little bit of thinking like, hey, with rotation being a bit better, it's going to help the character. With Demon Embrace being a gank tool but not a 1v1 tool, we're probably going to be where we want to be, so that's all right. And then you'll see a little bit later why we think charged heavies and unblockable heavies are probably going to end up a bit better than they are today in the live environment. At some point.
At some point, yes. All right, so next up, so Jiang Jun. So Jiang Jun also only has one change to him, but it's something that has been widely requested. The Dao Shi's choke. Now, I'm not going to say it the same way as last time when I got made fun of.
Douchey?
So, yeah, that's right.
Why'd you say it?
I'm sorry.
I don't know, right? So anyway, so that moves stamina damage has been reduced by almost half. So this way you can't just like parry a zone and then choke somebody and then they're out of stamina every single time. So it's still a good tool. It still drains stamina more than a lot of different things, but it's no longer like I'm gonna take all your stamina out. That's for JJ. And then finally Hitokiri. Hitokiri was like the second most well-received character, but still had issues. She's now, I think, one of the better duelists in the game. But we still wanted to do some changes so that the character actually is a bit more fair to play against. So first off, for kicks, so raid kick and resweep, they do less stamina damage and they no longer pause stamina regeneration. Gives you a bit more breathing room when you fight against Hitokiri, so they're not gonna put you out of stamina as they go all-out asthma attack on you. So that should work. Then we have Endless Myriad. These are the infinite heavies and chains, which are also guaranteed after raid kick and resweep. So we've reduced the damage on them a little bit because the damage being that high off, and because it's guaranteed every time you land a raid kick or a sweep, you should be okay with like dealing a little bit less damage. It's still good. It still works fine. But again, it gives your opponents a bit of a chance of escaping the infinite loop that she can get into. And finally, like we've did with Griffon and I said Gladiator, her side dodge heavy attacks are no longer delayable. Helps them being a little bit more reactable, easier to deal with. So that's one change that we're pushing towards a couple of heroes to see. But normally it really helps with reacting to those attacks as well. And now being able to also dodge multiple things, like chargeable, like for example, right, Hitokiri with raid kick and resweep. Some characters, including Hitokiri herself, really enough, was able to dodge and then delay their dodge attack so they could dodge both the kick and the sweep at the same time. Now this should not be possible anymore with delayed, with no longer being able to delay the side attacks.
It's interesting also because you can kind of see a little bit of our current line of thinking on like what are these side dodge attacks? How do we think they position properly in the game? Same thing with stamina damage and stamina pause. Or stamina regen pause. We're starting to come around to a different line of thinking than we used to be on this. So we'll see how it goes going forward. But I'm pretty excited about the way things are going.
Yeah, the big thing with stamina pause is like when somebody is out of stamina, for example, it's much harder to keep them out of stamina for a long period of time. That really helps.
You don't like being gray screen forever?
I'm not a huge fan of being gray screen forever. I don't know about you there, but it's not the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, so I think that's it for the changes to the heroes.
Yeah, I think now we can jump into the future of testing grounds and some things that you are very excited to be trying out. The new testing grounds will be going live on July 1st, run through July 8th. And once we show you what is actually in this testing grounds, we know for a fact you are going to flock to it. And we are excited to see your feedback. But let's go ahead and roll out the red carpet for our heroes that will be featured in this round of testing grounds. It is it's going to be
starting with Orochi, right? So we're starting with Orochi. Orochi's right now, like a lot of players are not super happy with the state of Orochi, so we've given him a little go. Should be really interesting. So that's good. So it's a pretty good character to work on, I think. Next up we have Raider, the big guy with an axe. Raider. Yeah. So Raider's another character that had a lot of people complaining about that he's gotten weaker and weaker. So give me some changes to Raider. But see, there's a thing here though. Okay. It looks like there's a little bit of space next to Raider.
There's an empty space there.
There's empty space there. I wonder if somebody could run up to that thing and like bending forward with their arms back or something. I don't know who pops up there. I'm really curious.
I'm sensing a resident sneaky boy.
A sneaky boy
around. I think.
Who's a sneaky boy?
A Mirage-like person.
A Mirage-like person. Let's go ahead and pull him out.
Oh, it's Shinobi. Oh, yeah.
Shinobi.
Right? So I think that's our most requested hero to have in testing grounds. Yeah. So so Shinobi is getting quite a few changes. Should be super interesting. So I don't want to go into too much detail because there's a lot of stuff. But what's this? We also have option selects that we already announced, so it's not that much of a surprise. But so we're also going to be testing option select changes. There's going to be a blog post before the testing ground, so we can see we can have a lot more details about the changes to the heroes, the logic behind them, also some stuff for the option select. So that should be good. And so that should be really, really interesting. And I think the next testing grounds is going to be really interesting because option select changes really, really end up changing a lot of what's going on with the game. So we're going to be excited to play that out and see how it goes.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you guys for running us through that. That was like a novel-length expose on 7 heroes, 3 new heroes, and the option selects. So thank you guys so much. I think everyone's going to be super excited to see those changes in game real soon, as well as to try out the testing grounds changes. And when we can talk a little bit more about those, we'll let you know. Seven and JC, thanks so much for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.